Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Bye Podcast with Raven and Ree. It is our first episode of 2021, so we want to wish everyone a happy new year and hope
Happy
that it
New
was one to
Year.
remember. Yay! First episode of 2021!
First episode, but not our first episode in total. This is our 8th episode,
Yes.
which will be a 3-part series because today we will be talking about the phenomenon that is Midnight Sun.
We've waited.
We waited. Wow, we have a lot to get to.
Yes. We do
this-
want to point out that if you have not read Midnight Sun, then you probably may not want to be watching this because this is going to be a spoiler-free.
A major spoiler alert.
Yeah.
So if you would like, and you have not read Midnight Sun, go ahead. We have 7 other episodes for you to check out. For your listening and viewing pleasures if you're on YouTube. And then read Midnight Sun in between and then come back to these. Because, and if you don't care about spoilers and you're like, I'm probably not going to read it anytime soon and I want to know, then stick around.
Stick around. You'll get all the juicy details from us.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And then we get to the infamous blood type scene. I love that. Well, it's kind of creepy, right? But he tells her, I followed her all day through other people's eyes, barely aware of my own surroundings. And, but he said not from Mike's eyes because he couldn't stand his offensive fantasies. So Mike is just a pig.
I know. I cannot. This made me hate Mike even more.
Mm-hmm. Because it's just like, oh, how gross. I just don't even know. He goes to class, but is this the part where do they sit together in the cafeteria for the first time?
Yes.
Because right after that, Emmett tells him he's in the cafeteria.
Yeah, what was it? Okay. Yeah, because he goes to a seat that wasn't
Yeah. Look, he was sitting in a new place, and Rosalie called him an idiot.
Yeah.
Jasper gave him a half smile and thought good luck. Emmett rolled his eyes, shook his head, and said, lost his mind, poor kid. And Alice was just, can I talk to Bella now?
He's like, keep out of it.
And then she said, don't forget about today's biology lab because they were doing the blood typing in biology, which I never did, and I was like, I kind of wish that we did that in my biology class.
I know that was an interesting lab, and then Stephenie Meyer actually did confirm that this blood type chapter was kind of based on an experience that happened to her, where they actually did do a blood typing lab, and she fainted.
Yeah. Well, that brings me. I saw this picture, and it was Bella character description, how her physical appearance, and it was describing everything, but it was a picture of Stephenie Meyer, and literally everything is Stephenie Meyer, which I understand because characters usually writers. So he's waiting for Bella, and then I love this is she looked at the table where all the other colors were sitting, and then she didn't see him, and she looked to the floor. But then he was like, she looks so sad. And then Jessica said, Edward Cullen is staring at you again. I wonder why he's sitting alone today. And she found him, and he motioned with one finger for her to join me. And I was like, oh my goodness.
Gone. Deceased.
I know. I could just imagine him come here, oh
my god. And then I was even when I read Life and Death and Edith does it, I'm like, oh my god.
So Jessica, does he mean you? Who else, Jessica? And then she said maybe he needs help with biology. I'll go see what he wants.
And she only has, I think, a lemonade bottle, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Doesn't Edward have pizza? He's food with him, or is this a different time?
No, this is a different time. Okay, so she doesn't have the lemonade yet.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Okay, yeah. This comes. That was after I think Port
Yeah.
Angeles.
So then they have their first little cafeteria date, and he says that she thinks that the friends are angry at Edward for stealing her, and I love this part. She said they'll survive, and he said, "I may not give you back though."
Oh my
I
god!
can't
I'm
deal with
like,
Edward Cullen. I can't.
what? Sorry, my like Steam just pulled up. Oops.
Oh,
Have you
oh,
on
I
Steam,
can't.
gamers?
This is another one of the parts where I just caught myself smiling. I was like, "Stop it."
I know.
Um,
Texting me. Yeah.
and then she was surprised, and she was like, "What brought all this on?" He was like, "I got tired of trying to stay away from you, so I'm giving up."
Ah! Oh, and this is her theories.
Oh yes, this is where she says the theories. So she says, where is it? Oh,
Let's
what are
see.
your theories? It's on page 121. She was too embarrassed.
Oh no, she has. Okay, so does have a lemonade bottle, but I don't know if this was the bottle cap when he takes it. Let's see. That's page 123 is when she talks about like radioactive spiders, and
Yeah.
he's also like kryptonite doesn't bother me either. Oh wait, he does take the okay, he does take it in this. He does take the bottle cap in this one.
Oh, and what? Oh, okay.
125.
Oh, okay. I'm right there.
It says, I waited until she was gone, and then I put the lid in my pocket. So, somewhere around here is when he kind of like. There it is. Okay. 124. It says, I stretched my hand across the table, reaching for the lid to her lemonade bottle as an excuse. She did not flinch away from my suddenly closer hand. She was really not afraid of me. She was really not afraid of me. Not yet. And then 25 is when he says, I'll see you later, how he's not going to go to biology, saying like it's good to skip every once in a while. And
Yeah.
then on his way to hit after she leaves, he puts the lid in his pocket.
Yeah, and then this is when he starts hearing, like, is she gonna pass out? What do I do? And Mike is like with Bella, and then he goes and saves her. What's wrong? Is she hurt? So then she hadn't even poked herself. It was just seeing
Someone
everyone
else.
else's blood was like, what the heck, right?
Yeah.
I think she fainted, and then and then he tells her Bella came here, and she says no, go away.
Ugh.
And then Edward takes her, and Mike is so pissed. He was like, "Oh, I'll take her," and Mike says, "No, I'm supposed to do it." Like, okay, what are we in kindergarten here? Like, excuse
and
me,
then he
sir.
he just lifts her up like nobody's business.
Mm-hmm. And she did not want him to carry her at all, and she was like, "You look awful." I think he had even said at some point that it was just odd that like she's not a vampire, but she's still like weak at the like the notion of
Yeah.
blood or whatever.
Yeah.
There's always one. I want to see where it says it says it here somewhere where he was like
Oh, I think Miss Hammond was a little. One of the teachers was like a little gossipy because it's like she's all like, you can go back to class, and he's like, I'm supposed to stay with her, and she goes, I wonder. Oh well.
yeah. She was like, what's going on here? Oh, so that's when she tells him like you were right, and he was like, "What? I usually am," and he was like, "But what about?" And she said, "Ditching is healthy." um, he said, "Oh, he put staring in her mouth made me feel strange, made me want to move closer to her, which is not a good idea." Oh my goodness. Oh, he tells her, "I thought Newton was dragging your dead body off to bury it in the woods." Oh my goodness.
And then and then Mike comes back because someone else passed out, and then it says, oh no, go out of the office, Bella, because it's all like the blood was still dripping down his hand, and then she turned around, but then it's all like she's like, I smelt it, and he's like, what? People can't smell blood. And she's
Yes,
all like,
that's what it was.
yeah, and it's like, well, it smells like rust and salt. And he's all like, is she human? I'm
Yeah,
like,
she was like, was she really even human? She looked human. She felt as soft as a human. She acted human, but she didn't think like a human or respond like one. But I get what she means because I can smell blood. Oh my
I
gosh,
can.
are we vampires? Moving on. Moving on.
Conspiracy opinion allegedly.
I know, right? Um. So then, yeah. So then she just they're in the nurse, and then Mike tells her, "Are you going to the beach this weekend? Are you going this weekend to the beach?" And then Mike is so petty. He was like, "We're meeting at my dad's store at 10, and Cullen's not invited in his head."
Oh my gosh.
And then Mike's thoughts are just like terrible. He was like, "What does she see in him? Sure, he's rich. Girls think he's hot. But I don't see that. Too perfect. Too perfect. I bet his dad experiments with plastic surgery on all of them.
Oh
Oh my
my
goodness,
god. Mike's just an ass.
he is an ass. I
That's-
Mike in the movie wasn't that bad. Mike in the
Yeah.
book don't like.
They definitely toned him down. No
Yeah.
offense, Michael Winch. We love you.
Oh yeah, love him, just not the character.
Yeah.
Um.
Oh, and this is when he kind of like,
Oh, she didn't want to go to gym, and he was
he's
like, "Go
like,
sit down and look pale."
he's like, I got this.
Oh, and then he talks to Mrs. Cope, and her heart fluttered, or her eyelashes fluttered, her heart sped up, and she told her, "So get a hold of yourself." I'm like, Mrs. Cope is like really about to catch a case.
I know. I was all like, okay, honey, you need to slow your roll. Let's stop it here. Like, oh my god, could you imagine what she would think around Carlisle?
I know, right? But at least Carlisle was of age.
Is of
Edward
age.
is
She's of
17,
age.
ma'am.
I know.
um.
Disgusting.
So then they ended up going to his car, and this is where because she gets out of the gym, and Bella's like, "Good, because I don't want to go to gym." Um, and then she invites him, right? This is where she invites him.
Yes.
But Emmett and him had plans to go hunting because Edward was like already at the point where he was like needed to hunt. And she invited him, and he was like, "Oh, like I don't think Mike would really like that." And she says, "Mike Schmike." And then she was walking to her truck, and then he was like, "I don't think so." And he ends up driving her home, and Alice takes her car later on, and she tells him like, "You're so pushy."
Yeah, and then she's like, I can perfectly drive myself. And then he's like, please get in, Bella. And then he's like, I could drag you back. But I think I think in that sense she probably thought he was serious and could not hear the joke.
Yeah.
And then back in his thoughts, and then he kind of like talks about the relationships between Rosalie, Emmett, Alice and Jasper, and Carlisle and Esme, and how like they fell in love and like how they are with each other. So it's like, yeah, Rosalie and Emmett, classic love at first sight, and we kind of see that when we get into that one chapter where we see a lot about Rosalie,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like Alice and Jasper. She waited 28 years for them to meet, which, wow, dedication. And then Carlisle and Esme, it's like Esme had already been in love and with him, but Carlisle was like, and because she was 16 when they first met.
Yeah.
And then
child.
and then it was 10 years later when they met again.
Wow. Yeah, so he talks about a little bit of their like love, all of them. And then when they get into the car and Claire de Lune plays, and then she was like, she put Claire de Lune and he put Debussy. And she was like, not well, but that her mom plays a lot of classical music and she only knows her favorites, and he said it's one of my favorites too. And he was just trying to get her like smell. I guess like he just wanted to make sure that he had to. I know a lot of the things that he was doing, especially when he was in her room, was trying to make sure that he can like even be around her, you know.
Yeah.
Then they're in the car, and he starts asking her questions. Um,
This is where I found love with Bella.
yeah. On which part?
Cause it's like, let me see, or was it this one? Shoot, no. Okay, it wasn't this car scene. I think it was the one where he picks her up to go to school that I fell in love with Bella because he's asking her questions.
Oh, okay. Yeah, here he's just asking her like basic questions like how old are you? And then she also tells him like you don't seem much like a junior in high school yourself. And he was like, "Oh no." And he changed the subject and then he asked about Phil, that he's driving her home. And then I think at some point they park and they're just talking and she started asking him questions too. The Cullens
Yeah.
adopted you, yes. What happened to your parents? And he was like, they died a very long time ago. So he's giving her like the truth, but like a very altered version of the truth.
Yeah.
And so there she's just asking him questions. And then I think she had asked him again about the weekend, like going to the beach. And she
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, then he told her they were gonna go hiking. Um and then he said, will you do something for me this weekend? And she said, yeah, she nodded. And he said, don't be offended, but you seem to be one of those people who just attract accidents like a magnet. So try not to fall into the ocean or get run over or anything, all right? And he in his head he was thinking, run, Bella, run. I love you too much for your good or mine.
Oh!
My goodness. And then she gets off of the car and he drives away.
This is, I think, where he writes Bella's lullaby.
Yeah.
I cried in this chapter. I cried a lot in this book, but this one, very much.
Yeah. So in this one he goes back to school, right? And then I think here he's probably here he's like talking about imagining um Bella with his arms wrapped around her body and feeling him pull her tightly against his chest and cupping his hand under her chin. And then
Yeah.
he
Oh,
put like he just starts like imagining, and then but it's because what he started doing was that he was thinking there were these vision or these thoughts that Jessica was having,
uh-huh.
and so he was replacing Bella in these memories or these thoughts that Jessica was having.
Yeah.
Um, which Jessica, I mean Jessica, Jess.
Jessica. Okay, sis.
That's a little. I mean,
And then they get home. They get
yes.
home, and it's like,
Oh, before they get home, they all get into the car, and then but they all caught her scent, and then
yeah.
I don't know who said it. I think it might have been, was it Emmett? Probably, yeah. And he was like, she does have quite a flavor, doesn't she?
Oh.
I love how Emmett calls him kid. He's like easy kid.
Yeah,
He
and they're
always
like, and Emmett's physically older than, but and yeah, Emmett's physically older because I think, um, when were they born?
Edward.
Edward was born in 1901 and died in 1918. And then Rosalie and Emmett, I think, were both born in 19 um because she was, I think, because like she died, they both died in the
So Emmett's
1930s.
20.
Emmett's 20. He was born in 19, what year?
He was turned in 1935, so
he was born in 1915.
yeah.
Yeah, so
And
Emmett so Emmett's like physically older, but Edward has like 10 plus years on him.
yeah, of being a vampire.
Yeah.
um so they're in the car and Rosalie noticed it and was pissed. Also, I love how they're always driving in the Volvo, right?
The Volvo,
I
yeah, because
cannot imagine the five of them packing into this tiny ass car.
I know, especially Emmett's big ass,
I
like.
can imagine Emmett sitting in the middle, just like blocking, just like
I mean,
terribly.
because Alice always gets the front seat, so.
Yeah. So then they drive Bella's car back to her house. Um, they get home. Esme was upstairs. I was about to say she was upstairs sleeping, but no, she was not sleeping. She does not sleep. Um,
Emmett and Jasper were playing chess. Alice was on the computer. And then what did Rosalie? Oh, Rosalie was going through the TV, but then she decided to go work on her car.
yeah, and then Edward sat down at his piano and started playing, and that as it brought Esme so much joy. And
Yeah,
then
because
she was like, "A new song. It's been so long. What a lovely tune." And Rosalie was like, "Edward's composing again."
and she knew that it was Bella that had inspired him because he hadn't composed in a while.
Is it? Oh, this is a moment that Rosalie let her like why she was kind of mad about Edward slip.
Yeah.
Um, and it was well he doesn't because it said with Rosalie was always vanity, so it was kind of a little thing about like how could he not want her when she was this beautiful vampire, but he was like falling for this not as beautiful to her human.
Yeah.
That was like the initial like a part of it, right? And she was like, if you say one word, I will put you down like a dog. Um so
And
then he's
then
just playing this song, and then Esme asked him if it has a name, and when I read that, I was like, it's Bella's lullaby. He was like, it's a lullaby, I suppose. Oh my goodness. And
and then
then
he
yeah, so he's just here. Esme was singing along, like, oh my goodness.
I literally was playing this song. Like as soon as I realized what was happening, got the headphones, started playing, and then cried.
um so yeah, this is just where his family. I think in this moment they're just being really supportive to him. Oh, and then Esme told him if she's a bright girl, oh, she'll have to love you back if she's a bright girl. But I can't imagine anyone being so slow they wouldn't see the catch you are. He's like, stop it, mom, you're making me blush.
When he said sorry, mom, I was like, now call Carlisle dad.
I know. He always just calls him Carlo. Basically, they're just having like beautiful um family time, and this is when Edward kind of lets it slip that Rosalie was offended that she found some insignificant human more appealing than her. Which
Oh.
is like, come on. But see, this is remember we talked about how like she always made Rosalie kind of like this like bad guy, and
Yeah, I that's the one thing is I mean I still get people in my comments sometimes saying like Rosalie is such a bitch and like same with Leah and I'm like no. I mean you she was made to look like that because it's like but Rose there's so much to Rosalie.
yeah. This is also the chapter where Alice tells them that they have two friends coming to visit, Peter and Charlotte. And Edward is
Oh
getting super defensive. Edward's like no, like, and then that's when Alice tells him like it's okay, like they're coming one day morning. No one's gonna hurt Bella. Emmett and them leave, or Emmett and Edward leave to
yeah.
go hunting
Yeah, they were
because
gonna leave in the morning.
I think yeah. And then Esme asks him to play the song for her one more time, and he does.
Oh.
Oh my goodness, I can't.
And then it's like Esme and Alice exchanged a glance, but neither one asked. So it's like they kind of know who it's about,
Yeah,
but they're not going to say
100%.
anything.
And then then it shows them hunting a little bit, and Edward is describing their hunting, and then he gets I think he gets blood on his shirt or something, and then Emmett's like, "Oh hell, Rose gave me this shirt."
Emmett is such an icon.
Oh no, the bear cut his shirt, and he was like, "Dang it, like Rose is gonna be pissed." And they're just having fun. I love that they have him fighting a bear.
Literally, and could you imagine this being adapted into like a show or something, and we just see like, come on, give me what you got.
I know. Oh, so then I think Edward like wants to go back, and he was like, "Oh well, Peter and Charlotte know how to behave themselves because of these two friends that come over."
Yeah.
And then he was like, "I'm going back Sunday," and Emmett was like, "Exactly like a crazy person. You're a crazy person." So he went back basically to watch Bella again. um, that is so funny that he brought something to grease the window.
Oh my god, I swear.
I brought oil to grease the mechanism, entirely surrendering to that particular devil, and the window now moves silently out of my way.
What the hell is wrong with it?
He was like, "Oh, it's squeak." I mean, at least he's like fixing her house.
Why don't you just paint the roof while you're at it?
I know, like fix some floorboards. I don't know. And then it says that she had her hands folded up under her cheek like a smudge, so she was sleeping like this, like.
Oh,
how cute. or she was like this. I love that.
Oh my gosh.
And basically, they were just, she had already, she had already at this point already gone to La Push.
Yeah.
So this is where she has a dream about Edward like hiking at where because they went hiking or whatever and seeing Edward and but like never being able to get to him or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then she started sleep talking again. Bella's just like the biggest sleep talker.
I know.
And she started talking to her mom. She's like, "No, let me please." And then this is so funny. She said yes, yes, and said, "Ugh, it's too green."
Oh, the sheer like disappointment.
I know that is just too green. And then I think he started thinking about what happened at La Push, and he was like, "Oh, that there was little scrapes on her palm." And
So he knew that she did fall.
and she fell, yeah. And he was like, "Oh well, of course she would have like fallen, like duh." And he was like, "I wonder if she had fallen in the ocean. I wonder if she had a pleasant time in the outing." He was just wondering like how her day was, and tried to picture the sun on her and the sun on the beach, which it was not a very sunny day, right?
Yeah, it rained.
So and Edward cannot go to La Push, so that's another like one of the main reasons he said he could not go. But while this was happening at the beach, Bella pulled information from Jacob, who where she basically tried to like find out what Edward was, which by the way is breaking the treaty.
Yeah.
But
he didn't know.
He didn't know. He didn't believe it.
Yeah.
So when Edward finds out later, like what happened, he was like, "Oh my gosh, like this kid," but they don't even like the younger kids don't even believe that this is even like real, you know?
Yeah, they just think their parents are like paranoid.
Yeah. And he even wondered if Bella had ran into maybe one of them, and he was like, "Well, they could tell her nothing, right?" But he did say like one of those aging sages. And I was like, "Well, she ran into one of the younger ones."
Yeah.
So, I mean, Oh well. And then
And I think when it's revealed in this, because I think he does get really pissed off that like Jacob had said something, but then he like thought back, wait a moment, he doesn't believe, so he didn't know what he was doing.
yeah. And then what he ends up doing is leaves her window and ends up like finding her scent around the pathways, and
Oh
he
yeah.
followed her trail, and she was like, what is she doing? Like, and then it just stopped in the middle of nowhere, so she had just gone a few steps into the trees, um and he like was like, well, like just trying to imagine like what she would be doing there.
Yeah.
um and he was like, why would Bella have come to sit here alone? And she had been alone, no doubt about that, in the middle of the wet murky forest. Maybe that's why she was like, ugh, too green. In her dream. Um, and then he was like, I could hardly bring this up in a casual conversation. So he knew that what he was doing was a little crazy, because he was like, so Bella, I was following your scent through the woods after I left your room. Just some minor breaking and entering. No need for worry. I was exterminating spiders.
I cannot with him.
So he just knows that it's just not.
He knows how creepy it is.
It's creepy. Okay, so then we get to chapter 8, and it's called Ghost.
Yeah, and this is a short one.
Yeah.
So let's.
Oh yeah, super short. Basically he just talked. We see that he says that he didn't really see a lot of Jasper's guests.
He doesn't
Um,
like Mike.
does not like Mike.
Does not like Mike.
At all. Does
Oh,
not.
oh,
um,
this was the chapter where in Twilight it was a sunny day, and so after school Bella like went out and was reading. He watches from the trees. I think her reading Sense and
yes.
Sensibility.
Oh, and then she falls asleep on the grass.
Yeah, and then
Oh, does Mike asks her out again, right?
I did
Yeah, he does on page 159.
oh yeah, and then it's like yeah, he asks her out, and then she's just like this is when she's trying to be like, are you blind? Like Jessica likes you, like, and I'm
But
her
dude, she tells
friend.
him very sad. Like she's like kind of angry. She's like, "Are you like stupid?"
Yeah. And then fucking Mike, the way he describes Jessica is such a typical
Douche.
douche. Like, she's cute though, I guess. Decent body, bigger boobs than Bella. And I'm like, the fuck?
I know. Ugh, Mike. Jeez.
Ugh.
Um.
And then the day
So
goes
he was
on.
watching. He was like watching from the forest, like the school day, because he wasn't at school. Oh, so
Yeah,
this
and
is where she had plans to go out with the other girls. I guess to go. Is this where they end up going? The next day they end up going to
Port Angeles.
Port Angeles. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, they had
Um,
just made plans.
so the girls make plans to go out in this thing in this chapter, and then this is when Bella ends up like taking a blanket out into the yard because it was sunny. She was reading a book, and then she fell asleep. And then, jeez, Bella, she would
and,
just fall asleep on the grass. He even
and
remembered the title page that she fell asleep on. Um,
and then and then she starts talking again, and then she says Edmund, as though, and then it's like, from the
from the
from
book.
yeah. And then
Edmund, I thought again of where she just couldn't mean just that Edmund Bertram had been named for the first time. And then he was, I don't know
and
if he was
this
that mad, but he was just like, what the
and this was when because Peter and Charlotte are still, I think, at the house, and it's like he finds out, they plan to go to Port Angeles, and then it's like he remembered Jasper had not warned Peter and Charlotte that Port Angeles is not off of like to stay clear, so like they could go freely to Port Angeles and hunt, and that's what made him go and
Go, yeah.
follow her.
Yeah, so in this chapter, he basically just he's kind of like watching Bella from a distance because it is sunny out. So
Yeah.
uh
And this is where we find out that he really likes her blue blouse.
yes, the infamous blue blouse, which okay, because I'll talk about it. Well, I'll talk about it now, but because in Twilight we get that whole like utterly indecent thing, but it's less about the khaki skirt and more about the which makes it more like a little bit better in my eyes because this blouse does have like a low back.
And I've been waiting years to find out, wondering what he felt about the khaki skirt.
But it
And
wasn't
it
even the khaki
wasn't the
skirt. It
khaki
was the
skirt.
blouse. Which I guess makes it a
Oh.
little better, right? Because if he was like getting hot and bothered about this stupid khaki skirt, I would have been like, Edward, come on, dude. Um, so he's watching from a distance. And then they end up going. I think at the end of this, they end up going. They're like driving to Port Angeles, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Oh, and then he does see Peter and Charlotte, and he does acknowledge them, and they're kind of confused in why he's acting like that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then at the end, right before we get to chapter 9, um, so he does go back home, and then right before he leaves, Emmett like calls him a madman, Rosalie calls him an idiot, and Esme's just like, poor boy.
I know, but then it's like, so Alice is like, "Have fun. Let me know when I can talk to Bella." And then Emmett's like, "You're pathetic. I can't believe you missed the game last night just to watch somebody sleep." Like typical Emmett. Oh,
Oh my
and this is
goodness.
where and then Jasper is about to say their goodbyes to Peter and Charlotte, and then that's when Jasper is all like, "If you see Maria again, tell her I wish her well."
Yeah.
Oh my god. I was not expecting to get Maria content.
Yeah, I know. But then they tell us here a little bit that Jasper had always been Maria's favorite. She considered it a minor detail that she had once planned to kill him. And then that's when Peter was like, "Oh, I don't think we'll cross paths with her soon." And he was like, "But if it does happen, I'll tell her you wish her well."
Yeah, because I think, did it mention, yeah, it was mentioned, I think, in Twilight that there had been times where Maria did try to seek Jasper out.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Um, and then Alice kind of reassures him that Peter and Charlotte aren't even going to go anywhere near, but he was like, "You know what? I'm not even going to think about that. Like, I'm just going to pretend you did not say that, and I'm going to Port Angeles."
Mm-hmm.
So then he gets to Port Angeles, chapter 9, and it was still too bright, so he couldn't even like leave his car. He was just kind of like cruising around or parked somewhere. Um,
This was also a long chapter, almost 30 pages.
yeah. And then they're dress shopping and all that. And I don't know what he does, but there's a part of time where oh, I think he was just waiting for like it to get darker, for it to get more shadowy. Um and at some point he would like just routinely check back in with Jessica, and at some point oh, so this is where he says, like, I don't mind. One of them who thought, I don't mind going back to the store. Do you think Bella will be looking for us? And he was like, well, what do they mean? Will Bella be looking for us? Like, Bella's with them. But then and that's when he finds, oh, and then Jessica, so annoying. She goes, oh, who cares about Bella? Like, in her thoughts. Oh my goodness. Like,
Yeah.
how mean of her.
That pissed me off. It's like you are in the middle, it's getting dark, and your friend who just moved here doesn't know the area. Like, they were not
Yeah.
friends. Like Jessica was just a selfish bitch.
Yeah. So that and then Edwards is like, "Are you kidding me?" Because he wasn't. I guess he wasn't really like paying that much attention, and Bella wandered off. And then I think he ended up getting down, or he started driving around, and he drove to the bookstore, and he was like, I think he was like trying to get her scent.
Yeah, he was
And
following. Yeah, he was following her scent, and then that's when he hears the guys.
yes. So, he was just like driving around, like waiting, and then trying to go through the minds of like people like around the streets, I guess, and see if any of them had seen Bella. And then and then it was so funny. I love this part where he was like that he was just going through the thoughts that he had or that he was hearing, and someone was like, "Think the baby has another ear infection. Wait, is it 604 or 640 or 604? Say it again. I ought to tell him." And here she comes. And then he was like, there at last was her face. Someone had noticed her, and he figured out what exactly was happening. And um, he was still in his car this whole time, right? And then these men started having these disgusting thoughts about
Yeah,
her and saying, "Look at her shaking. Don't be like that, sugar." Which is gross,
disgusting.
disgusting. Um, and then there, one of the guys was like, did not want to. I think it said somewhere here. I don't know if maybe it was like in Twilight or I'm just like mixing them. But one of the guys was like, "Oh, maybe this. Oh, like knew this was a bad idea. Like she's not alone." But
Yeah,
these guys, I mean, at least one of the main guy or whatever was like really disgusting. Like,
yeah, Lanny.
yeah, he was like brave this one, maybe better, I guess, more fight in her. Like, disgusting. And here it said his phone rang. So it was probably Alice. Like, Alice probably had a vision and was like, let me call Edward because hey. So
Yeah,
finally he gets to Bella, she gets in. Um, they're all some of the guys are like, I think I'm gonna throw up, should I run? Which I mean, like, they should be. I mean, Edward would literally hunt these kinds of guys.
yeah. Like these were his targets. So I think I kind of like to think that maybe he was about to get like that adrenaline rush where because it's like he was getting flashbacks of what he used to do and it's like,
Hmm.
ooh, maybe just a few more wouldn't hurt.
Yeah. Well, see, and then they drive off, and he starts thinking about that. He starts replaying it, and I think because he already had all their minds in his brain. Um, then yeah, they're just driving away. He says, "Distract me," and then she just starts talking nonsense to distract him. They end up getting to Did he not send someone after her? Oh, didn't he send Carlisle to go like um get these
Yeah,
guys?
he wanted Carlisle's help. So like, okay, he knew he could not. He was going through like a contemplation where it was like he just could not stand. Like he was having this urge. He's like, they don't deserve to live. This isn't the first time they've done this,
Hmm.
and but it's like he couldn't bring himself because he kind of didn't want his blood the blood on his hands now that he was devoted to Bella, like thinking about what would she think of me if I did this. And then it's like Carlisle, I think what Carlisle did was I think they alluded that Carlisle like found him at like a bar and like spiked his drink or and like did something and then took him to like threw him at the police station with evidence of what he had done to other people. So he was
Yeah.
in jail. Even
Mm.
though, to be honest, I was kind of hoping Carlisle would just
Right. Um. So this whole time, for most of the rest, they're just talking. Oh, they end up getting back to the restaurant, and Jessica is pissed. She's like, "Are you kidding me?" Like, um. And then we get the diner scene. Jessica was like, "Holy crap, he's hot," in her head. Gross. Oh, and then he asked, like, "Oh, do you mind if I drive Bella home tonight?" And Bella, I already know that Jessica was just pissed off. And Bella winked at them. Bella was like, hey, like,
oh yeah.
And Angela like was like, okay, like I get it. And then but Jessica was probably like wreathing. She was probably pissed.
Yeah.
So they have
Then
this whole diner scene that we know and love. We get more thoughts of the waitress who's like just thinks that he's so hot. Um and then yeah, so then they're talking in at this dinner. Um and when they leave, oh, he gives her his jacket.
oh yeah, because it was cold.
I love that.
Let me see. And then oh, and then it's like oh, because he let her ask questions in the restaurant, when they get in the car to leave or when he drops her off and everything, it's like now it's your turn. Like saying like you got to answer my questions.
Yes. And so then, oh, this was also where he did the whole like I can read your mind thing, right? Like I can read
Yeah,
minds.
and he kind of admits that what he is, because he says I follow your scent. So it's like this is where he reveals to her what he is, and it's like she's not scared.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then we get a little Persephone and Hades reference here. So she was like, suddenly, as she ate, a strange comparison entered my head. For just a second, I saw Persephone, pomegranate in hand, dooming herself to the underworld. Is that who I was? Hades himself, coveting springtime, stealing it, condemning it to endless night. I tried unsuccessfully to shake the impression. So he
Yeah.
was just another Edward brooding moment, of course. So then he tells her that he can't read her mind, and she was like, "Oh, is something wrong with me?" And he was like, "No, like you're crazy." And then he says like, "Oh, that her lips and her skin, they look so soft," and he wanted to see if they were as velvety as they appeared. So then when they get into the car, and they're on their way back home, because this is a pretty long scene. He kind of admits to her like, I followed you to Port Angeles, and she's like, she was pretty happy about that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, is this still chapter 9?
Yeah, 190.
Okay,
I'm
yeah.
on 190 right now.
Okay, cuz I think they also like say it in chapter 10, so I was kind of confused.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm on 190.
Okay.
Yeah, because this diner scene is just like super long.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's kind of just admitting that he was, listening to Jessica's thoughts and but not carefully, and then that's how he ended up finding her because of the other thoughts of the guys.
Yeah, and then he read their thoughts and they were disgusting and he wanted to kill them.
Yeah, and then and then again he towards the end he starts getting this whole like, I should kill them, um, uh, how he wanted to kill the guys again, and
Yeah.
then they end up leaving, right? And then the waitress came back with the check, and they pieced out.
Yeah, and then it's
And then he says, "Now it's your turn." And then now we get to chapter 10. Um, so she says, "Is this the part where she tells him that she knows what he is?"
so that's yeah, so it's kind of like she's like, "Can I ask just one more?" And then it's like she's like, "How did he's I think what was it?" He said she's like, "You knew I hadn't gone to the bookstore. How did you know that?" And he's like, "Followed your scent, all that." And then um he talks more about the mind
Yeah.
reading. And then it was oh, and then she was freaking scared because of how he was driving, because he was driving
Oh
so
yeah.
fast. And it's all like she's like, Charlie's a cop, I was raised to abide traffic laws. And he complains about going slow.
Yeah.
and and then this is when she tells him about the beach and how she
Yes.
kind of has figured it out because of Jacob. And he kind of like gets a little he freezes, he goes blank, and then it's like, I should have realized that it was not the old men who believed in the legends that would be the danger. Of course, the younger generation, those who had been warned but would think the ancient superstitions laughable, that was the danger of the exposure. So he had always thought that the elders would say something. He never thought the
It
younger
would be the
generation
younger
would not
ones, yeah.
believe them.
And then she was like, I think he was just waiting for it, and he was like about vampires, and he was like, oh no. And she was like, and that's when she admitted that Jacob mentioned the family. Um, and then does he admit it? Does he admit it to her that, or she just kind of? I mean, yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah. It says, oh, because then he's like, "What did you do then?" And after the whole after with the Jacob, and she's like, "I did some research," and he's like, "And that convinced you?" And so,
Oh
um,
yeah.
and then we get to the part of, you don't care if I'm a monster, if I'm not human. And that's he kind of he kind of admits to it on page 200 is when she's like about vampires, and he's like, "Oh, and you thought of me."
Yeah.
And I guess because that's kind of like what made her was like, yeah, that's like, it's true. So
Yeah. And she did. Oh, and then she's asked, "How old are you?" 17. How long have you been 17? A while.
yeah, and then
So he
all
does.
of the
Yeah.
myths, it's like burning sun, myth; sleeping in coffins, myth;
Yeah.
can't
So
sleep, can't eat.
it's much more like toned down than the other scene, because in the movie they like end up they combine the meadow and her telling him that they're gonna like that he's a vampire. So it's very
Yeah.
toned down compared to what we see in the movie. It's very like muted, or kind of more casual than like the whole like, as if you could outrun me, like all that intense, and then
I
throwing her
love.
over his shoulder and all that craziness.
Oh my god, that was so funny, I swear.
Oh, and then they
And then,
talk about the diet, and he was like told her that they're
yeah,
vegetarians and
yeah. So like
all that.
these next couple pages are basically like what we see in Twilight with the conversations. He does go in his thoughts a bit, kind of like just up like amazed that she's not afraid, and she actually is kind of like brushes it off.
Yeah.
Um and then he feels bad that he made her cry, and um he drops her off and all that, and kind of goes from there.
And then is this what page does he drop her off? Oh, I think like
210.
212.
Like 210 to 212 is when
Yeah, he
he
drops
like
her off.
yeah.
So they had a pretty casual conversation about him being a vampire. It wasn't like super intense. And then is this when he ends up yeah, this is when he ends up going home. And
Oh yeah, and this is when he goes to Carlisle.
yeah, he goes to Carlisle, and he tells Carlisle like, "Hey, like these men, they've done it before." And he shows Carlisle where to find him. And
Yeah.
he grabbed his black bag on the way. Um and because Carlisle was like, "I'll do it very like kind of like stealthy," and Edward was like, "I want to crack his skull open."
Yeah.
Everybody's so like, jeez. Um, and then
Yeah.
and he's also he says he gives us some of Carlisle's thoughts here about how he didn't know that Bella would be so good for him. And just talks about how Carlisle thinks that Edward deserves happiness. Um, and he tells him like, go back to Bella. So he does that.
Dr. Daddy,
He goes back to Bella. And then he kind of changes his tone a little bit, and he was like, "What?" He says, "What? Someone like Bella ought to have a protector, guardian angel. She deserved that." what guardian angel would have allowed Bella to come here to cross my path, as she was in such a fashion that there was no way I could possibly overlook her. So he's still kind of like in this thing where he's like a little upset that she was still like there, but like more that he was like falling so intensely in love with her.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And then he was like, well, if there was no guardian angel, that he would make up for that and be her guardian vampire.
And then she says his name again, and he's all like,
She
I
sighed and smiled.
Yes! And then, I shoved tragedy aside for the moment and let myself be happy again.
So that is chapters 1 to 10, and just like a little this is going to be pretty long, but I'm going to cut it down a bit.
Yeah.
But just to conclude a little bit, I think these first 10 chapters is just Edward trying to navigate what exactly he's going to do. And that's what a lot of this, like a lot of those extra long chapters are, is him like
Yeah.
contemplating if he's a good
Yeah.
person, if he's a monster or whatever.
Yeah, it's definitely just cuz like he's definitely the one who is most deep in his thoughts, and I think like it's like everybody has known that Edward overthinks.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also like, you know, he was young when he was turned in a different time, and I wouldn't say he has had the best with coping with what he has, but he has managed, because I think him and Rosalie are like similar in the sense where they both really kind of despise what they are.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot, especially with how hesitant Edward is to even think about having Bella become like one of them.
Yeah.
Whereas we see with Emmett, and like Emmett's more carefree. He doesn't really care. He kind of enjoys it. Alice can't even remember her human life, so she doesn't know what she's missed.
Yeah.
And then Carlisle, he's been there for so long. It's like he's learned to accept it. Esme probably still feels a little bit of hurt because it's all like, you know, she kind of maybe misses her human life, but she has so much love for her family that she can bear it.
Yeah, I think for sure these first 10 chapters to me are pretty much like a setup for the rest of it, and it's a long setup because I think at this point, at the end of chapter 10, we kind of already know where his brain is at the end of chapter 10. He makes up his mind about what he's gonna do, and so his mind at right now is like, he's not gonna change Bella. He's going to, you know, protect her, and he's already in love with her. He already loves her. So so it's basically setting up for the rest of the chapters. Chapters 11 through 20 is what we're going to talk about in the next part, part 2 of this of episode 8. This is a 3-part episode, remember? But yeah, and he broods a lot in these chapters, but then in the next like 10 chapters he's kind of a little bit more happy, and he's not as brooding. He's more like they just figure out their relationship more, fall more in love.
And it's like he feels these human emotions when he's with her, so it's like I think that's what made him really like fall for her, is she makes him feel human. And like,
dang, gosh, the first 10 chapters are intense. They're really intense.
They are.
So we got through the first 10, and wow, geez, so much to go over with them. They're just the most intense things. Probably, and I think maybe those were the chapters that I feel like maybe those and the last couple were the ones that really hit Stephanie maybe a little bit more, because those were the ones that were just over emotional and like depressing.
They were intense.
Pretty intense. Jeez. Okay, well, Well, guys, we're gonna
We're
take
gonna
a
take a
little break
break.
from filming, and we're gonna film later today for our next our part 2 of episode 8. Um, remember to check out all of our social medias. We have at the bite on Instagram is at the bite podcast RR. I think on TikTok too is at the bite
Yeah.
podcast RR. We can find all of our updates basically on Instagram. Make sure you check us out on YouTube at I think our handle is the Bite Podcast with Raven and Ree, um, where you can watch our live recordings of this and just see us talk. And if you don't want to see us, then you can go listen on Spotify.
One moment, Mom. Sorry. Yeah.
But with that being said, this is the end of part 1 of episode 8 of our analysis on Midnight Sun.
Yes, and if you're watching this on YouTube, let us know in the comments down below, like, some of your thoughts. Like, do you agree with some of the things we said? Do you disagree? Like, let us know your thoughts.
Yes. Okay. Well, that is it for this one.
All
We'll
right.
see you guys later.
We hope you enjoyed. Thanks, guys.